Secrets of finding a liquid apartment in Tbilisi. Hello everyone. Today we are going to talk about how to find the perfect apartment in Tbilisi, the capital of Georgia, which will be not only a comfortable place to live, but also a profitable investment asset. Choosing an apartment is a responsible and complicated process that requires taking into account a lot of factors. Therefore, we have prepared for you a detailed guide that will help you make the right choice. Factors affecting the liquidity of an apartment. Choosing an apartment is not only a matter of preference and comfort, but also an important step in terms of investment. Liquid apartment in Tbilisi is one that can be quickly and profitably sold or rented out. Let's consider the main factors that affect the liquidity of an apartment. Location and neighborhood infrastructure. This is one of the key factors. Liquid apartments are those located in areas with developed infrastructure. Availability of stores, schools, kindergartens, hospitals, parks and other objects of social importance. Condition and age of the building. New or renovated buildings are usually more attractive to buyers and tenants. However, old buildings in good condition can also be in demand, especially if they are located in the historic city center. The layout and size of the apartment. Not only the total area of the apartment is important, but also its layout. Apartments with a convenient and functional layout are considered liquid. Proximity to transportation routes and objects of social importance. Apartments located near subway stations, bus stops and other objects of social importance are usually more liquid. The view from the windows. Apartments with a good view from the window are usually more attractive to buyers and renters. Mountain, park or landmark views can significantly increase the value of an apartment. Presence of a balcony or loggia. This extra space can be used as a place to relax, storage or even as an extra room. Apartments with a balcony or loggia are usually more marketable. The floor of the building and the location of the apartment. As a rule, apartments on middle floors in buildings with no more than 10 to 12 floors are considered to be the most liquid. However, in new residential complexes with elevators and security systems, apartments on the upper floors may also be in demand. Quality of finish. Apartments with quality finishes are ready for living and do not require additional investments, which makes them more attractive for buyers and tenants. Availability of parking space. In a city where parking is a problem, having your own parking space can significantly increase the value and liquidity of an apartment. It is important to remember that the liquidity of an apartment is not a static concept. It can change depending on changes in market conditions, development of the neighborhood infrastructure and other external and internal factors. Therefore, when choosing an apartment, you should always analyze the current situation and make forecasts for the future. Real estate market trends in Tbilisi. The real estate market in Georgia is actively developing, especially in the capital Tbilisi. The city is becoming more and more attractive for investors due to the number of new construction projects, reconstruction of old buildings and increase in the quality of life. However, not all apartments in these buildings will necessarily be liquid. It is important to take into account current market trends and market development forecasts. According to recent studies, the demand for apartments in Tbilisi is growing, especially for real estate in new residential complexes. This is due to the improvement of construction quality and living conditions in new houses. At the same time, it should be taken into account that the prices for such real estate are also higher. This is due to higher construction costs, better quality of materials and construction, as well as the increasing cost of land in Tbilisi. Therefore, investing in real estate in new areas cities may require a significant upfront investment. On the other hand, it is worth noting that the demand for apartments in the old, Historical neighborhoods of Tbilisi also remains high. These districts attract with their atmosphere, rich history and proximity to the city center. Such real estate can be a great investment, especially if you plan to rent the apartment out. In any case, when choosing an apartment to buy in Tbilisi, it is important to conduct an in-depth analysis of the market, take into account all possible risks and the potential for growth in real estate value. This will help you make the right choice and maximize the use of your investment. Choosing the right neighborhood. There are many neighborhoods in Tbilisi, each with its own advantages and disadvantages. Let's consider a few popular neighborhoods for investment or residence in the table format. When choosing a neighborhood, it is important to consider not only its current condition, but also its development plans. For example, if there are plans to build a new park or shopping center in the area, this may increase the cost and liquidity of housing in the area. Characteristics of the residential complex or house. Residential complex in Tbilisi can offer different accommodations. It is important to consider the following aspects. Infrastructure of the residential complex. The presence of stores, fitness centers, playgrounds and other facilities inside the complex can significantly increase the comfort of living and, accordingly, the liquidity of the apartment. Some complexes also offer additional services, such as their own spa center, swimming pool or cinema. The quality of construction and maintenance of the home. Quality construction and timely maintenance of the house is the key to the long service life of the building and preservation of its appearance. When choosing an apartment, it is worth paying attention to the materials used in construction and how regularly the building is maintained. Level of comfort and safety. The presence of concierge service, video surveillance, underground parking and other elements that increase comfort and security also affect the liquidity of the apartment. Some complexes have smart home systems, which allow to control lighting, climate and other functions of the apartment remotely. Environmental friendliness and energy efficiency. In recent years, more and more attention has been paid to environmental and energy-saving issues. Apartments in buildings equipped with modern energy-saving systems and using environmentally friendly materials may be more attractive to buyers. Social environment. Neighbors and the general atmosphere of the complex also play an important role. Complexes with an active social life, where there are joint activities and hobby clubs, may be more attractive to certain groups of buyers. Choosing residential complex in Tbilisi, it is worth considering all these factors so that your new apartment not only pleases you, but also remains in demand in the real estate market. Assessment of the apartment and its potential. When valuing an apartment, it is important to consider not only its current condition but also its potential. Important aspects. Condition and technical characteristics of the apartment. A renovated apartment with new communications and quality finishes will be more marketable. New windows and doors. A modern heating and water supply system. A balcony or loggia. All this can significantly increase the value of the apartment and make it more attractive to buyers and tenants. Analyze the demand for similar housing on the market. If similar apartments in the area are in high demand, the likelihood of selling or renting an apartment quickly is high. It is especially important to take into account the demand for apartments with similar layout and area, as these parameters are often decisive when choosing an apartment. Projected rental or resale yields. Calculation of potential profitability will help to assess the profitability of the investment. It is important to take into account not only the possible cost of renting or selling the apartment, but also the associated costs, taxes, utilities, apartment repair and maintenance costs, prospects for neighborhood and infrastructure development. If there are plans to build new infrastructure or improve transportation accessibility in the area, this can significantly increase the value and liquidity of the apartment in the future. Possibility of redevelopment or expansion of the apartment. If it is possible to change the layout or increase the square footage of the apartment, this can also increase its value and appeal to buyers and renters. In addition to these factors, it is also important to consider your personal preferences and needs. After all, an apartment is not only an investment, but also a place where you will spend a lot of time. Therefore, choose an apartment in which you will be comfortable and cozy to live. Financial aspects and legal issues. Buying an apartment is not only a housing choice, but also a significant financial transaction. It is important to consider the following points: the market value of housing and factors affecting price. The cost of apartments in Tbilisi can vary depending on many factors. For example, a one-bedroom apartment in a new building in the Subortalo neighborhood can cost around $70. 00080,000. In the upscale neighborhood of Wake, the price can reach $100. 000 and up. The cost of an apartment may depend on its area, floor, availability of repairs and other factors, tax liabilities and utility bills. In addition to the cost of the apartment, it is important to consider the monthly maintenance costs. Utility bills in Tbilisi average around $50–100 United States dollars per month, depending on the size of the apartment and the number of residents. You should also take into account property tax, which is about 1% of the cadastral value of the apartment. Legal issues when buying or renting a home in Tbilisi. When buying an apartment, it is important to make sure that the transaction is clean. Check all the documents for the apartment and make sure that there are no debts on it. It is recommended to contact a lawyer or a notary, who will help to conduct the transaction and avoid legal problems. Tips for choosing a liquid apartment. Choosing a liquid apartment in Tbilisi is a process that requires careful research and analysis. It is important not only to assess the current condition of the apartment and the house, but also to consider the potential for increasing the value. Let's take a closer look at the main recommendations. Assessing the potential of the apartment. When choosing an apartment, pay attention not only to its current condition, but also to opportunities for improvement. For example, cosmetic repairs or remodeling can significantly increase the value of the apartment and make it more attractive to potential buyers or tenants. Analysis of a residential complex or house. The liquidity of an apartment largely depends on the quality of the residential complex or building. The presence of concierge service, underground parking, playgrounds, gyms and other amenities increases the attractiveness of the apartment and can increase its value. Apartment location. An apartment in a good neighborhood with a developed infrastructure will always be in demand. When choosing a district, take into account the availability of public transport, proximity to stores, schools, hospitals and other important facilities. Document verification. Before buying an apartment, it is important to thoroughly check all documents and make sure that there are no debts on utility payments, taxes and other obligations. This will help avoid possible problems and disputes in the future. Professional evaluation. If you are unsure of your ability to appraise an apartment, don't hesitate to contact professionals. A real estate appraiser or professional realtor will be able to conduct a complete analysis of the apartment and give you an objective assessment of its value and potential. Budget planning. When buying an apartment, it is important not only to consider the cost of the apartment, but also the cost of repairs, maintenance, taxes and other expenses. This will help you plan your budget properly and avoid unexpected expenses. Choosing a liquid apartment in Tbilisi is a process that requires time, careful analysis and attention to details. But with the right approach and our advice, this process will become easier and more understandable. Keep in mind that every apartment and neighborhood is unique, And what works for one person may not work for another. It is important to consider all of your needs and abilities, and pay attention to all aspects, including location, condition of the apartment and house, neighborhood infrastructure, and legal issues.